Yo, welcome to the Cosmic Paradox channel. Like, subscribe, and share. Okay, so as his narration continues, he goes on to say, when the waking world leaves you wanting and weary, sleep brings you here to find freedom and adventure, to face your fears and fantasies and dreams and nightmares that I create and which I must control lest they consume and destroy you. That is my purpose, or it was. So this is dream of the endless speaking. So remember, always remember, when you are observing a story, the aspects of the story relate to you. So, as I stated before, this is in relation to an aspect of your soul, because you know how even spiritually, how we say we have to get sleep, your body has to rest spiritually. Rest and sleeping is good for you, but you see, the soul doesn't sleep. The soul doesn't need sleep. So when you do sleep, your soul is traveling. So it's important that we know that this is the ultimate story. Like, this is the Gnostic story. This is the origin story. This goes back to the story in the mystery that talks about how your soul got into this 3D physical realm, as far as being a creator, being in a higher realm, and falling into a lesser realm, or going into a lesser realm and getting trapped in that lesser realm, or falling asleep, falling into a slumber in that lesser realm. So that in itself ties into that original, the original story, the original thing of what it was all about when it comes to the mysteries, because it's going back from whence you came, back to source. So back to those higher realms. So that's also part of that symbology in the meaning of this story. So he goes, and it's because it's also in reference to those, the fallen ones. So when we fail from higher beings into the lower realm, we forgot a lot of things. We forgot everything in terms of who we truly were, and how to get back, and how to be who it is that we was. So everything ultimately is to acquire that knowledge back, or to remember that knowledge again, so that you can transcend or ascend when it's time for you to go, pretty much, so to speak. So that's another aspect of when you're looking at the soul. That's why there's the endless, who broken down in the seven. And that's all of those seven things are what makes up the human experience. That's what the soul wanted to experience. It's portrayed, the only way to explain it, or the way that it's portrayed, is as beauty. This is why you see the connection between Lucifer being connected to beauty, etc., etc., because it's about seeing it as a form of beauty. So being so taken with the beauty of it all, the illusion, the physical illusion, falling pretty much in love with their reflection, and boom, those higher beings into the lesser realms, or into the physical, into the 3D world, i.e., why he has three tools. Pardon me about that. So that's his role. So we are personifying aspects of the all anyway. So everything is has to be put into a concept of an entity. That's why man created God, because we had to, in order to interpret it from our perspective of human, you had to personify it. And that's what all of the deities represent, different forms of expression of the all, but it's all rooted from one source. So this is common, this is just basic common spiritual foundation. There's not a belief in God, in terms of what creates all that there is, there's just different ways of expressing how that energy can work, how that energy can play out. Whether people want to look at different gods, or whether people want to look at different angels or different attributes, however you want to lay it out and interpret it, that's based on what it is, because ultimately every spiritual system is based on the region, the language, all of those play into what and how things are labeled, but it's pretty much always giving you the same story. So it's all rooted in the same spiritual concepts. It's just depending on where you are, it's depending on how you're going to be taught that to interpret that. Now, granted, today with religion, it's pretty much just degenerated or decayed old world spiritual systems. That's what you have left in religion. Religion is pretty much all of the leftover things that's left from those spiritual mystery systems. So when you get to studying Christian mystery in terms of Christian the religion, you'll get a vast difference of what the knowledge does for you. Because one is going to be way more empowering to you and relative to you and your role and who and what you are. So that's pretty much kind of the difference of it. So if you're gonna look into, if a person is a Muslim and pretty much always had the traditional Muslim or Islam, then you have Sufi mystery, which is this was considered the mystery system or the old world spiritual system that's before what has later they been laid out into just you know the religion of Islam. So, in terms of that, when you go back to the mystery, you are going back to the depths of the stories. What are the stories telling you? Because that's what myths are. Those myths and legends and allegories hide within them certain higher knowledge. And for those who have been initiated, which means they've been taught the understanding of these symbolic references, then they get a totally and completely different interpretation of the story. So it's one way to the masses or to the sheep, but it's a totally different story of interpretation to those who know. So that's the difference of it in terms of looking at it that way. So when we're looking at dream being one of the endless, which again there's seven endless, just like there's seven chakras, or ordinarily seven planetary rulers. It's basically just a description of a system, of a means of understanding the spiritual system. Okay, so dream is that part of you, is what represents your dreams. And what comes from your dreams also can come your nightmares, and what can lead you or influence you to make certain decisions in this 3D world reality. And that's what the show is kind of showing you the whole entire time. And it's just, I mean, there's a lot of other things in it, but we're gonna go over all of that. But so dream represents mastering one's dreams and nightmares, understanding how to use them to get everything that you want, utilizing that power. But it is a chaos power. That's why everything is so dark. That's why he wears the all black. It's the dark figure, the absorption of the energy, the just the way he kind of is. It's just kind of presentation of that energy, but it's to your nightmares, as you can see, or so you can face your fears, so these are things, that's what that represents. Okay, so when dream is locked away, this is what happens when we lose control over this part of ourselves, or when that part of ourselves is lost from us. But we're gonna get out into that anyway. But